Hello, my dear crafters. Today I am giving you a complete and very honest Tim Holtz Tonic Studios rotary trimmer review. I've had this for a couple of months, maybe 2.5 months now. And it took me a while to get a grip of it, which was honestly quite frustrating at first. I'm very used to having just the regular FISKARS like this one that has this little blade here. And it just took me a while. So today what I'm going to do is we're going to start by talking about the good things about this trimmer that are different from the regular trimmers. The bad things, I think, disadvantages and challenges of this trimmer, because depending on what your needs are, you might find that the problems are not really a big deal for you. And that's the main thing. It depends on what you use it for. I make a lot of boxes. I cut a lot of chipboard. So I use big papers a lot. I'm not just a card maker. I make cards too. But for that, I use my small trimmers because you don't need something this big. But for bigger things, if that's the use that you make of your trimmers, we're going to talk about the good things, the bad, and at the end, I'm going to tell you the 3 main disadvantages that I found that took me a while to learn, and I'm going to tell you how to overcome those challenges. So I'll give you a workaround and how you can solve those problems as well, okay? Because again, depending on what you need it for, I want you to buy it because it can solve some of your problems, and I will tell you what those are. So let's start with the good. Just quick overview here. It's quite big. I actually had a hard time getting the whole thing in my camera because my space is not that big, but I think this is good enough because we're going to have to zoom in to cut paper anyway. But just so you know, this paper trimmer is 7 3/4 wide by 17.5 inches long. Let me just show you the difference between that and just a regular trimmer like this one. And that's a big one because I have a small one. That's the one that I use for cards. That's a small, like FISKARS trimmer, just so you have an idea and a comparison. This is a regular size trimmer. And you can see that the Tonic is a little bit taller, so longer than the usual one. So the Tim Holtz, if you have a good surface and you can leave it on your table, this is not a problem at all, but it is a little bit big. And the one disadvantage of that is especially sideways, because you have this bar here and that's where the blade stays and slides on. You can see that if you compared to the regular trimmer, look how much taller it is. So this is not a good trimmer. If you're going to put it in a drawer, it's probably not going to fit. This is something that you leave on your surface. So if you have space for that, this is not a problem. For me, I'm just leaving it on my table right now, but it does take up some space. So it depends on the space you have. So that's one thing. Let's talk about the good things. It has a very good surface. It's very sturdy. You know, if you press it down, it's very, very good material here. Very solid platform. And it does have right here at the bottom, you have the extending arms. So you have one at the bottom. Because if you want to use, and I'll show you that, if you want to use a 12 by 12 paper, I'm going to move my trimmers out of the way here. Sorry about that. So if you want to use a 12 by 12 paper, it has these 2 arms here, which makes it perfect for that. So you can go up to 12 here. And 12 here, 12 inches. It does have the metric system here. If you look at these rulers here, you're going to see the centimeters on the top and inches here at the bottom, which is fantastic because it makes it very easy for whichever system you use, and also the fact that it has this wonderful ruler here in the middle. If you're cutting a small piece of paper, it makes it so easy for you to see that you're really cutting really right here and with a lot of precision, because you have the mark here, you will have the same mark down here. And the other great thing that it has, and I'm going to move it closer to you so that you can see, is that the whole surface here, let me move it around so you can see here. The whole surface has these marks here, and they go 1/4 of an inch increments. So you're going to have the top ruler here, the one in the middle, and these lines here that make it really, really easy for you to get a precision mark. So if you want to cut it with precision, you use this one. You have the lines all the way down, and you have this bottom ruler here. So it really, really makes it easy for you to cut it right on the side that the size that you want. So just to show here what it looks like with the 12 by 12 piece of paper. So that's another good thing. So I'm looking at my list here so I don't forget anything. The other good thing has to do with the blade. So the blade here is a rotary system, so it slides, and there is a round blade here that goes up and down rolling. That's why it's called rotary. So it slides very easily. This bar here is kind of a safety thing, so you don't touch. You never touch the blade, so you hold it, and the grip is really nice. You just hold it very easily. It's convenient and it feels good. So this is where it slides on. So it's different from the regular trimmers that has like a shaped like this. It's a blade that you just cut it. It doesn't move. This one rolls. So that's why it's called rotary. And it slides really easy. This is it gives you a great grip here. So that's another good thing about this. The other great thing about this trimmer and the blades is that this is going to take you months or even years, depending on how often you use your trimmer. This is going to take years maybe for you to ever replace it. The FISKARS ones, I have lost count how many blades I've bought, and they're not cheap. So this is a great advantage, because even though this is around $100, depending if you find, of course, a sale or something. So this trimmer is around $100. So it's not cheap, but you are not going to be buying these blades and replacing them all the time. It's going to take you forever. I heard that Tim Holtz himself, he said that he has not replaced his in over a year. So that's a great advantage. And I believe this is going to cost like $15, the blade. So it's not cheap either, but it's really going to take you a long time to ever need to replace it. So that's another big advantage, I believe. And it's very comfortable with the great grip, and it's really comfortable to use it. You don't get tired of holding it. So that's another advantage. So these marks here, I told you, in 1/4 increments. And the main thing that I bought it for is that the regular trimmers, like the ones that I showed you, you can cut one, maybe two pieces of sheets of paper at one time. And this one you can cut, and we're going to try it right now. We're going to cut like 6 pieces of paper. 6 sheets. I have 6 sheets of paper here, and these are actually cardstock. These are not very, very thin paper. It's cardstock. It's from those Michaels paper pads, just regular paper pads. I have some scraps here, and I want to see how it cuts, I want to show you 6 sheets, okay? So for me, this was a big advantage because when you're making, and I make videos, sometimes I do it for craft. If you're working on your craft fair, you want to cut at least 5 or 6 at once. And with the regular trimmers, you will not be able to do it. So that's the one of the main reasons why I wanted something that was more heavy duty. And this one is. Not only that, but it cuts, and I'm going to show you next, chipboard. So that's a huge advantage for me. So we have, as you can see here, a very thick slice here that we're gonna cut. So it's 6 sheets. Let's see how it does. And I'm going to start giving you some tips on how to use this and to talk about some of the challenges because it comes with the cutting. And here is what it is. If you have this plastic protection here, it's like a plastic bar. If you don't, the only way you're going to get a clear cut with this Tim Holtz, and I'm going to start zooming in because from now on, we don't need to see the whole thing. And I want you to really see the top part here because I'm going to cut. So you are always going to you have to remember, and this is in the instructions, so read your manual. If you don't, I'm so used to the regular ones, you just put the paper and you cut it, you don't have to press this so hard. With the Tim Holtz, you have to, because it's going to cut so many pages or something that is thicker. But even if it's just one piece of paper, I do recommend that you hold this plastic level here. So you press it down, and the other tip for you, if you want to get a clean cut, you don't just hold and you don't press it down. You don't need to do that. But look at my hand. You're going to have to do this movement here. You're going to press it towards the bar. You're going to press it this way. It makes a clear cut. I'll show you if you don't do that what happens, okay? But we're going to do that. So we're going to, and I've never tried with this many sheets of paper, so let's see how that works. It's very noisy, but it cut perfectly. Look at this, and it's very clear cut, no fuzziness, nothing. It's perfect. So this is really huge for me. Look how many pages it cut. So if you need that, if that's important to you, this is a great trimmer. Let's do the chipboard now. Again, this is a medium chipboard, so it's quite thick. So I'm just gonna move it around. Let's do 5 here. That's a size that I cut a lot. And again, I will always look here, make sure that it's aligned with these indentations that it has here. And it's just so great that it has all of that because you really make sure that it's aligned. And I think it's a great advantage. Again, we're going to hold it. You have to press it down. I'm going to hold my blade here, and I'm going to do this movement. Don't just slide it like this. It's not gonna work, and I'm gonna do it without doing that, okay? Just so you see. So I'm not sliding, I'm just kind of holding, just normally. It's much harder. See, it's really hard. It was hard. I mean, look at that. Look at how badly it cut. If you don't do what I told you guys, this is going to happen to your paper too. So that's one tip for you. So let's use the same, just to show you that it's not because this is too thick, not at all. So I'm just gonna place it here anywhere. I'm gonna hold it down, and now I am going to do what I told you. I'm gonna slightly push it this way, okay? And let's see the difference. I mean, look at this. If you don't do it, look at the difference. So this is how it cut really badly. Look at that. Because I didn't do it, and now look at this. It's perfect. It's very, very smooth. There's none of this. You have to do that, but even with paper. Let me show you with paper. So I am teaching you all the tips you need to get a clear cut, because in the beginning I got really frustrated with this trimmer. I said, are you kidding me? A paper trimmer that has a learning curve? I was very frustrated. But then I insisted and I said, okay, I need this for my heavy duty, so I need to learn. And I decided to teach you, okay? So let's cut without doing, again, even if it's paper, look at this. It hardly cuts. And look at how badly it cuts here. See all the fuzziness? You have to do that even with one sheet of, this is one sheet of paper, guys, honestly. So you have to hold it down and do this movement. So press it against the wall here. And it doesn't have to be much. It's just a very slight movement that you need to do. And once you do that, you get a clear cut, okay? So that's the first tip for you, so that you don't have my learning curve and you don't get frustrated like I did in the beginning, okay? So that's one disadvantage, is that you need to have this pushing to the side a little bit, and otherwise it's not going to work, and you have to press this down. If you don't, it's not going to cut. Let me show you that too, okay? I want you to really learn everything there is to learn about this trimmer. So I'm gonna push it up. Let's do 3 inches. It doesn't really matter. I'm not doing precision here, so I am not gonna press this, okay? And I'm going to, because it did cut well. It can cut well sometimes if you don't press this, but I did the movement, okay? I did the movement to make sure. Let's go up without the movement. Now you can see that it's fuzzy. I don't know if you can see, but it's fuzzy. It's not perfect. So just remember that. 2 things. Press this down and do this movement against the wall, and then you cut it. So that's one disadvantage. But again, I'm teaching you how to get it right, okay? Let me see. The other disadvantage that I find and that I love about my FISKARS is that because we have this bar here, you cannot see where it's cutting. So you really need to know and you may be asking, well, why do I need to see where it's cutting? Because I should be able to know the size that I need to cut right here, right? Not always, and let me show you what I mean by that. So let's say you want to cut this right here in the middle. I do this a lot because I use my cutouts a lot, as you know, and I want to make sure that it's cutting perfectly aligned here. You can't do that here. There is unless you have to be like looking sideways and making sure that it's aligned with the blade here. You don't want to touch. There is a blade here, and there is like a very sharp metal thing here, and where it ends is where it's going to cut. But you don't want to be touching this because it's dangerous. So let me show you the difference between that and this FISKARS here, and that's a huge advantage of the FISKARS for me, because if I want to know, it has this metal thing right here in the middle. See, right here there is a metal thing, and that's where it cuts. So I know exactly if I put it here, I am going to move right where that metal piece is, and that's exactly where it's going to cut. You cannot do that here. It's not easy to see where you're cutting. So if you need to see where you're cutting, it's going to be hard. That's another disadvantage, because this is right in front of where it cuts. So you'll not be able to see that. So because this bar is right on the top. So the other thing is, remember in the beginning that I showed you these arms, the top and the bottom arm. This is great for you because you have the measurements here, but it has a big disadvantage because it's not aligned. So the paper kind of goes down, and this is going to affect how you cut your paper. Because because there is like this indentation here, and it's pretty tall, see? This is where the paper is gonna be, but there's a huge difference. There's a gap here of like 1/4 inch. That's a big disadvantage for me. And why is that? Let me show you. So if you're cutting, let me see a longer one. So if you're cutting, I'm gonna turn the white here. So let's say you're cutting here and you want 8, right? 8 would be right there. So I go all the way up and I have to really like put my head and to make sure that I see, because if you push the paper to touch the 8, you're going to be altering that size. You don't want to push a paper because the moment you do this, it's not going to be precise. But that's the only way it's going to touch this line. So it makes it a little bit harder to see. It takes a while for you to realize where the measurements are because of this, because it's not straight. You don't. The ideal thing would be for this to keep on the same height, so you don't have to do this to see the measurement here. So that's another disadvantage because this arm is much lower. It's not flush and straight. So the other thing with this is, let me see if I'm missing out anything. If I forget, arms, yeah. So yeah, that's another disadvantage. And the last one that I want to talk about is, let's say you want to cut something at 6.5. You don't have that measurement. It's really hard because it ends, let me zoom in. This you really need to see close. So do you see here? That's 6. This is 7. This is 6 3/4 here. Let me just show you. So 6 3/4 and 7. There's no way, you don't know where the 6.5 is here. There's no 6.5, 6 and 3/8. You can't see that either. But let me tell you how to fix that. If you look, I'm going to just close this arm to make it easier for me to show you, because I really need to show you close. If you look at sideways, there is an indentation here. Do you see? It's like flush like that. There is an indentation and you will see it very easily here. This is the first part, the top of the indentation. This is the bottom part. These guys, it doesn't say here, it should. This is 6.5, 6 3/4. Sorry, 6 3/8. You have 6, 6 1/4, 6 3/8, and 6.5. So this part here, the second part of this indent, this line here, you have 2 lines. So just put a mark, just so you know. And let me show you that it's really precise. I am not kidding here. So I'm going to use this paper and we're going to cut on this first indentation. And I'm going to show you with my ruler that it is precisely 6 3/8. See? So the 6 3/8 will be exactly here on the first. And let's do now the 6.5, because this is important. I mean, 6.5, we use that a lot. I use it a lot. You need to know where it is because it doesn't say here. So again, I made a mark, right? See this line here, the second one? That is precisely 6.5, and I'll show you that. So there you go. See, I didn't press the paper, so it's really fuzzy, but that's fine. That's not what we're talking about here. So look at that. It's exactly 6.5, see? So this is a fix that I wanted to know. Just put a mark up and down here. 6 3/8, 6.5 will be right there, and then the rest you'll be able to see with the arm because the rest is there. So that was something that took me a while to learn where that would be. The other one, let me see, the slivers. Yes, if you want, that's the last thing that we want to talk about. Let me just zoom out for you. If you want to cut a very thin, let's say 1/8 of an inch, like this part here, just this, and we do that. We need that sometimes to make like backgrounds and stuff. So I'm gonna pull this down. It's not easy to cut like small because the slivers of paper, because again, it's hard to see where it's gonna cut here. You have to be moving your head up and down to see. So let's hold. I'm gonna do the movement here that I taught you, pushing it to the side. Not very easy, see? It's much thinner here than it is at the bottom. It's just not very easy to get very thin pieces of paper and just strips of paper if you want for decoration and stuff. So that's another disadvantage that I found. And even if you use, because all of these papers that I used here, they were all cardstock. So let's say you use a very flimsy piece of paper. This is from a book, actually. So I'm gonna put it here. Let's see if it cuts well. Very thin piece of paper. So we're gonna do the movement here, and it's perfect. I just wanted you to show. I wanted to show you that it cuts thin paper. It's heavy duty, but it also clear. It's very clear cut here if you want to use something that's very, very thin. So I think this is it. I don't think there is much for me to talk about in terms of this Tim Holtz. It's a very complete review, very honest with the good, the bad, but again, do think about your needs. My needs are maybe different from yours, and the advantages may not be relevant to you. Same thing with the bad, with the disadvantages that it has. For example, if you have a very nice area, one of those lucky people who have a huge craft room and space is not a problem, this is not going to be a problem. But if you have a very small space, it could be. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I answered all your questions. If you do have another question about this trimmer, do ask in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them if I know. Do I recommend it? Yes, I recommend it. If you do heavy duty things and you need to cut a whole bunch of paper at once, it's a very precise and very good tool to have. So it depends on what you need it for, okay? So I wanted to share everything that I learned over these last 2 months. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I use it a lot, especially when I need to cut more. On a daily basis, if I'm making small things and just cutting just one sheet at a time, it's not worth it, really, because to carry this around just for that, I just carry my small one. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed my review. Do leave a comment, and please do subscribe because it does help the channel a lot. Thank you so much, and you have a great day.